We've all heard hundreds of times that practicing your scales and arpeggios are crucial to improving as a musician. Teachers love to bang on about how they improve your muscle memory, technical facility, improvisation, sight reading, pretty much everything. But what they don't tell you is the traditional way of practicing scales doesn't actually give us anywhere near as many benefits as they'd like us to believe. But there is a really easy way to actually get all of the benefits we're promised. You see, scales and arpeggios are normally played over a number of octaves. So if I was playing a 1-octave G major scale, I'd start on G, go all the way up through the scale to the next G, and then come back down. And this is bad for both beginners and more advanced musicians. For beginners, it kind of suggests you can't do anything related to scales until you can play at least a full octave. Which is complete rubbish. One of the first things beginners do is run up and down the notes they know, even if that's just 3 or 4 notes. And that's a mini scale. And for intermediate and advanced musicians, practicing scales in this way ends up really limiting the range of the instrument you're comfortable in. So with that 1-octave G major scale, well, there are loads of notes I can play above that high G, and loads below the low G that just don't get covered in this traditional method. So fine, that 1 octave is going to be super comfortable, but pretty much every piece is going to go outside a 1-octave range, and as soon as it does, well, all the benefits I thought I was getting from the scale have pretty much been thrown out the window. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Josh, I do my scales across 2 octaves whenever I can. And that's great, but there's still going to be notes in the upper and lower registers that you're missing out, especially on an instrument like the saxophone, which has got a 2.5 octave range. So instead of the traditional 1 or 2 octave approach, we want to do what I call full range scales. And this is basically where we start on the normal note, go up through the scale until we get to the highest note we can play, back down through it until we get to the lowest note, and then back to the note we started on. And you can do this whatever level you're at, just make sure you're adapting that highest and lowest note to match your current range. So if I was playing a scale of G major, well, I'd still start on G, and I'd go all the way up through the scale to the highest note I can, in this case high F sharp. Then I'd go all the way down to the lowest note I can, in this case low B. And I still want it to sound resolved, so I then go back from that low B through the scale until I get to the G that I started on. So the whole thing would sound like this. Now it's important to remember that we still want to stick to notes that are within the scale when we're doing this. So although my lowest note on the saxophone is a low B flat, well, there's no B flat in G major, which is why I only went down to the low B. It's the lowest note I can play that is still within that scale. And we can use the exact same approach for arpeggios. Start on the normal note, go up as high as you can, down as low as you can, and then back to the note you started on. Practicing scales and arpeggios like this avoids all the issues with the traditional approach. By covering the full range of the instrument, well, you're improving your technical facility across the full range of the instrument. So whether it's in written music or improvisation, you're not going to get caught out by a phrase that goes really high or really low. And for more tips on how to get the most out of your practice, check out this video next.